Been great, man. Time's flying by. We've had 3 more weeks than the 2 off seasons prior, and it feels like it's gone by twice as fast somehow. I think you get out here, and now it basically means go time. Everyone goes home, starts packing up. I think some people might even go from here to Arizona, and basically start getting after it. So it's definitely time to, put on your baseball pants and your ball cap and go do our job. So I think everyone's looking forward to that.
Speaking of your job, you're a guy who does a couple things very well. Come out of the bullpen, effective reliever, and also you've done a great job starting. Have they talked to you about your role coming into the season?
No, I think it's just kind of more of the same. I think that, they value guys like myself, Kike, Chris Taylor, guys that can kind of do all of the, all the utility stuff around the field, and as far as pitching multiple roles. And I think that they've kind of, decided that they don't really need to tell us in advance. I think that we know that that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to be, asked to do. And I think between the 3 of us and even more the young guys coming up kind of know that, that's the way it is. And I might make 20 starts, I might make 60 relief appearances. I don't know. I'll be ready for everything, but I'm sure I'll get built up in spring like the past ones, and see where we are once opening day comes around.
Coming into spring training, it's a little different than it was in the years past, because you really have 3 rotational spots with Walker, Hirsch, and Maeda locked up, and you've got 2 other spots kind of open. How does that make you feel, knowing that you have an opportunity to be a starter?
Well, it's awesome. That's, obviously if I could have a choice, that's what I want to do. That's what I did coming up through the minor leagues in college, and then obviously a little bit in the big leagues. I feel like that's what my repertoire is made for, is more for starting and getting guys out multiple times. So I'm going to go in there, with my hair on fire, fighting for one of those jobs for sure. But then again, as we kind of just touched on, there's probably a good chance that Dustin, May, Gonsolin, myself, Jimmy Nelson, Alex Wood, we all make a handful of starts or more, obviously, and it's kind of who has the hot hand and that kind of stuff. So I'll just make sure my name's in the bucket as much as anyone else's, and when an opportunity comes up, that I'll be ready to take advantage of it, kind of like I have in the past.
Yeah. Well, how angry are you with the sign stealing scandal?
Yeah, there we go. Man, in 2017, we knew that there was stuff going on. You could just tell. They just seemed to be a step ahead of us in multiple situations. Certain at-bats you can really look at and be like, Brandon Morrow hasn't gotten touched all postseason, and all of a sudden he's grinding through innings like we haven't seen. So kind of, man, in 2017 we kind of knew it and got over it. And then it, kind of comes out like it did a few months ago, and all of a sudden we're reliving it. So we're angry. Obviously, you don't get a punishment like that if things weren't found out. So it's pretty clear that cheating happened. They got the max penalty. They lost draft picks. Guys lost their jobs, and more looks like it's coming. So, I think if you were going to ask us, we would say, we're happy people got punished for doing what they did, and but also we were over it 2 years ago, and now it's time to move on to 2020. It's hard to believe that you could do it now with the way that MLB has instituted like an 8-second delay and that kind of stuff. I don't really know how you could relay signs in real time. Maybe you can. I guess we'll see.
Do you think the Astros should have to vacate the championship?
Well, what I can say is that we don't want it. We don't want rings on our fingers. We don't want a trophy in our trophy case. That's not the way we want to win a championship. As far as vacating a championship, I guess it already has an asterisk next to it, right? I mean, it's there's only 2 of those ever in the history of baseball, so it's pretty obvious what that means. As far as vacating it, I don't necessarily know, man. I'll kind of stay in the middle on that one. I don't really care one way or the other. As long as they don't like pick it up and give it to us, that's not how we want it.
Living in the Houston area, how hard is it?
Yeah.
For you 2 or 3 years ago, and now looking back on it.
Yeah, it's been tough, man. At the end of the day, I have a lot of friends and people that know baseball but don't really know baseball and don't understand, and kind of would say the things along the lines of, well, they still have to hit the ball and that kind of stuff. And I would kind of say, like, dude, it's like being in football and knowing the play call ahead of time. It altered history, and it alters every game that they played in and every outcome. And now that the punishment came out, I was kind of happy that I could go back to those people and be like, hey, now you kind of see what was going on. So being in Houston was tough. I definitely probably talked about it twice as much as anyone else besides maybe you guys. So, I'm glad the punishment came out. I'm glad they, basically came down hard on them. And, now all the Houstonians that I've battled with for the last couple of years have an idea of what, really was
Well,
happening.
can the average fan understand what it's like to have your pitch? How much advantage does it give the hitter? Can you explain it to the average fan?
Yeah, man, these guys get paid millions and millions of dollars to do it without having a clue of what's coming, and they do it with us as pitchers also getting paid a lot of money to be as deceptive as we possibly can. That is my job. My job is to keep you off balance, and that's the only reason I'm out there. I'm out there to be prepared and to make it to where you have no idea what's coming, and now all of a sudden you take that away from me. That is literally my job, and you've now taken that away from me. And now you have the best players in the world at what they do, knowing exactly what's coming ahead of time, and possibly knowing what side of the plate it's coming, and all sorts of things. And it is absolutely game-changing. I don't know how else to say it. It is. I wish I had a better analogy. I've just kind of kept using the one of, if you told a middle linebacker what just went into Tom Brady's headset, and he turns around and he tells the team, hey, they're running it to the left side, my guess is that guy's not even going to get to the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, that's kind of the analogy I keep using.
Obviously, that sort of changes how much as a player, fellow player, it's frustrating knowing that this player decided to go outside the field. None of the guys in the game.
Yeah. We've kind of gone back and forth on how we want to handle that. I think the easiest answer is to say, yeah, that is frustrating. I mean, based on the punishment that was handed out, players cheated, and then they were granted immunity to tell the truth, right? And MVPs were won, Silver Sluggers were won, and a World Championship was won because of it. And not a single player gets in trouble. That's hard to believe. At the end of the day, I understand that maybe you have to do that in order to get the truth and the whole truth, and that's the way they went about it. But it's frustrating. I think the biggest thing that we can say as players is a lot of people are going around saying this was just baseball at the time. This was what every team was doing it in some way, and that is not true. To my core, I believe that is not true, and that the Astros were doing it beyond the line of what was acceptable. I guess long story short, man, the players got immunity, and that's the way it is. But I think as other players around MLB, what we can do is keep bringing up that that was not the norm in baseball at the time. Those players were going above what any other organization was doing, in my opinion, and they essentially got away with it.
Dallas Keuchel apologized yesterday. Does that mean anything to you?
No. Thank you for coming out and apologizing. I think him saying we weren't doing it in every game, I don't necessarily think I believe that. I'm glad he apologized, because I think from the other interviews we've seen, really no one has apologized, right? So I thank him for doing that. Hopefully that comes out more and more.
From this far away, the impression in Houston in the last game, the fan reaction seems to be not, our team cheated, it's Mike Fiers.
Yeah. Well, it's half and half, kind of based on the people I've talked to. I think based on being there beforehand, I think a lot of people kind of were saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal, and then they saw the punishment, and I think it hit the city hard. I think that if you think about that 2017, man, that was pretty special. Hurricane Harvey had just devastated that city. They really rallied around the Astros, and they won a world championship, and that city was feeling good. And then this came out, and I think it's kind of hammered them in the opposite direction. As far as Fiers, I guess it took 2 years. If it must have been on his conscience for him to eventually bring it out. And as far as being a pitcher on that team, I would be interested to know what they. I know guys are waiting for Verlander and other people to come out and give their 2 cents on the matter from a pitching side. I think people mostly should be happy maybe that Fiers said it, even though it kind of opened up this whole can of worms and this black eye on the MLB. It's something that needed to be addressed, and I hope that guys aren't too upset with him, even though he probably has a reputation of being almost like a whistleblower type now. That's kudos to him for kind of taking that on and bringing this to light. So I saw him for the first time yesterday, and I kind of jokingly asked where he put his buzzer, and he had a joking response back. And that's actually all that I had with him. I wasn't around him a ton yesterday. We were in different groups as far as what we were doing, and I hadn't really decided, maybe others hadn't decided how they really want to go about asking certain questions with him yet. I think no, I don't think it's awkward. Tyler's an awesome guy, and I think he's a straight shooter. I think he would tell you anything that you wanted to know, especially in the locker room, around us. I think there's maybe some guys that just honestly maybe don't want to know. They kind of just they're mad, and now they're over it, and now they don't want to, reopen that wound.